Okay. So recording started. It's the meeting of August 22nd, and we have Ofer Rosenberg from Qualcomm, Idong from Huawei, and Saurabh from Intel. Okay, and the goal is to continue review the slides. Let me share for a second. Okay, so yesterday we went over the first part, which is the status update. So just quickly, I did a small change that I want to show you. So we have 5 slides for the status update. The first slide is just same as Megan showed, talking about the working group, some logistics and everything. Second slide is the slide that I mentioned we should probably add so that people would understand what's the scope of the working group. So this slide just takes the drawing and shows that what we refer as edge is both edge infrastructure and edge devices that can be anything from mobile phones, drones, cars, virtual reality. So just to give people the right scope to explain what edge is about. And then the next 3 slides are same as yesterday. So this is the progress report. And this is where we are today. And this is covering the challenges. So any comments for now about the status part?
Nope.
Okay. So in the breakout session, we have 45 minutes. And so, Saurabh, you're going to prepare slides for your part, or maybe you already have slides now that you want to share?
Ofer, I don't have the slides, but I have the write-up for the compliance proposal. And that's what I probably wanted to discuss. And based on that, I could prepare the slides and send it over.
Okay, that sounds good. I think that even if we just go over the write-up that you shared, I think it's under discussion materials, right?
No, I've not been able to push to the GitHub yet, but I had emailed it to Milan. I don't know if he forwarded it to you or not, but I can email both of you right now and also share it on the screen.
No, I have the copy that you sent to me, and he sent it to me as well.
Great.
That's fine. If you want, you can just send me the recent one, and I will just merge it into discussion materials.
Perfect. We can do that.
Okay.
I'll do that after the meeting. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay.
So, okay, so you want to go over that part now, or?
Yeah, that would be great if we can do that.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing, and you can start sharing your write-up.
Okay. Well, please let me know when you can see the screen. And
okay, I can see the screen.
okay. So I would really like more feedback from both of you, because this is still very early, and we're still even though there are things written up here, we're just in very early discussion phase here, right? And it's based on my understanding of where we were going with edge profiles, and feel free to steer me either way, right?
Hmm.
Uh, the write-up is basically split into these sections, namely background, context of the compliance proposal, what is the objective, some key definitions, elaborating on the scope of compliance, what is going to be the compliance policy, and then more about the procedure. And then I had some questions around, of course, these can be removed. These are just questions for discussion I had, which I wasn't clear about, where we're going with the profiles.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So go ahead. Before you had a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think the questions are good, and maybe tomorrow the workshop is the breakout session is the right mechanism to get feedback. I do hope that in the breakout session, because it's the workshop, we will have much more attendees, so we can hear the opinion of other companies, not just four of us, but we can get feedback from additional companies.
Makes
So,
complete sense. Yep.
so that's why I believe we shouldn't try to close these questions now. We should probably just show them.
Makes sense. I would still get some advice from you both. If the questions are good for that workshop, then we can bring them over, right? But if you think that these are already addressed in the material and we are going to already have that, then we don't need to bring it. Maybe I have lack of understanding of the proposals also. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let me start off by some of the background I wrote up here. Says edge profile is a mechanism to express a configuration needed to run a particular machine learning model. The collection of attributes contained in the edge profile help machine learning frameworks and underlying runtimes allocate and manage resources prior to running the model. Please
Okay.
refer here for further details along with definition of profile attributes. This is the link in the
Um,
discussion material. Now,
okay. So maybe, so here I think we need to discuss if this is the meaning of profiling, because we had a different thinking of profiling in mind.
okay,
Um, maybe the two are somewhat related. To me, a profiling is more in terms of compliance, and the idea of compliance testing, meaning if you have a device and you want to say that this device is compliant to something. Today in ONNX, we don't have any mechanism to describe a device as compliant to something. And this is more in terms of a user that wants to know if his models are capable to run on some device.
makes sense. Makes sense.
So the way that I think me and Milan perceived it originally was that when we describe a profile, this profile has a set of attributes, and it is guaranteed to pass a set of ONNX models. There's a model zoo, so it's guaranteed to pass a set of ONNX models successfully. And then the vendor of this device can claim that he is compliant to some profile. So when application runs on this device and it knows that this device is compliant to a certain profile or a set of profiles, it can be sure that it can run certain set of models. That
Makes
was,
sense.
yeah. So um, in the description that you have here, I just the issue of underlying runtime, allocate, and manage resources. I don't know if it's so much related to the profile definition.
Okay, I guess. So, what is your thoughts of where would this profile be described?
The way that I saw it, ONNX doesn't right now standardize as an API. Okay, but if there would be a standard API of a runtime, then the runtime would declare a set of profiles that it supports. And based on this set of profiles, the application could be able to adjust the correct modem to run on this device. But since we don't have an API right now, ONNX is more about standardizing the container. I think the idea here is to create an infrastructure or a framework of description of tests that this is more of an agreement. There is a test package for a profile. As a vendor of a device, you take the test package of the profile, you run the test package of the profile on your device, you're getting back results, you are sharing the results with the working group or with the ONNX entire community, and based on that, you're getting compliance to your device for that profile. Let's take a smart speaker, for example. So you have a smart speaker, you run test of profile A on this smart speaker, get back the results, and hand them over to the working group, and then your smart speaker is compliant to profile A. So the working group is giving you the approval for it, and then based on this approval, you can publish it on your documentation and everything related to it.
Okay.
If we would have a standardized API, I would say that there is a standardized way to query which profiles specifically are supported, but we don't have a standardized API, so the only mechanism that I see now is kind of an offline compliance process that you're getting certification and publish it in your documentation.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So I think we're not. There's not a huge disconnect, I would say. Now, how let's extend the same concept that you just described to like a PC kind of environment, which can have multiple ways how you can execute. It can act as a smart speaker also. It could act as a vision device also. The same form factor could. And now it's just a different personality device is getting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in such an environment, we need some way for the device to know what personality I need to adopt. Am I a smart speaker now? Or am I a vision device now? So adding that profile attribute in the ONNX file itself will make it, at least it make it unambiguous in some ways that now the device knows how it needs to act. Now it's a smart speaker or something else, and then even end-to-end thing can operate in an unambiguous fashion. Am I making sense?
Yes, I understand. I actually understand your proposal, and it's very interesting. Um, I'm
It's
just thinking whether we should define um, So what you're actually saying, you want to set a profile to the device, to set an operation mode, in a sense.
Right. Both end to end, right? Like if I'm a data scientist, I'm producing a model. I'm saying, here is my model and it needs to run in this profile. So it's actually certified to run on a smart speaker then,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And then now it is certified to run as a smart speaker. Now that model comes onto a platform for execution. Now the platform needs to say that, okay, I'm ready for this profile also, right? So it needs to know what profile it needs to run on. And it says, okay, here is a model file. This was the intention of the producer. He wanted this model to be a smart speaker. And here I'm going to allocate and make its execution environment as a smart speaker. And I'm going to go do that.
So this is
So,
extending the original
yeah,
meaning of the profile to also describe an operation mode in case your device is capable of a multiple, let's say, lower class profiles as at the same level higher class profiles. You just want to set kind of a operation mode to the device.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, or
okay.
execution profile was the term I was using, but operation mode is probably better. I think it's more relates to the higher level as goal we had in mind. So operation mode is probably a good one.
Yeah, so I think it's a really nice idea that it extends the meaning, and I think maybe we should start by describing that the original intent of the profile was to describe a set of models and attributes, and now we want to extend it into using the same mechanism to define the operation mode of the specific model that now you're loading. Um, okay. And what you're saying is because you don't have an API to it, and all we have is the container, so we can add a thing in the container, an optional thing that says, run this model now with this profile in mind, and then it sets the operation mode to meet that profile.
Exactly, and exactly. No, you put it very right, Ofer. And here I've described some, so just ignore this. This is a connectivity is just the same thing as what we had data locality, right? Accuracy. So at runtime, the model producer had already published that my model has this accuracy post training, right? He put it in there. Then
Okay.
at runtime, now, when we do the compliance, we certify it, we make sure that this platform is ready to run for this accuracy. We make sure this much of memory is available, this much of latency throughput we see. This is the
So,
power footprint, all of that.
so what I would suggest is, uh, now I understand this document in a different way, and I think that using the term compliance here is kind of confusing, because we would like to reserve the concept of compliance to the original concept of there is a test package and
Okay.
you pass the test package. There's a procedure, there's a compliance procedure, which is take this package of models, run it on your device, and give us the results, and then you're compliant. So I would reserve this terminology to the original meaning, and just here I would try to, um, I would just try to describe a different,
Makes sense. No,
maybe
I'm with you.
maybe execution profiling. Now I get it that what you're actually talking about is using the profile to define execution mode.
Exactly. Now, see, uh, power is another interesting one. Like you could run it on a low power DSP, or you could run it on your cores, which take more power. So a lot of those considerations, and you can only respect those attributes if during runtime all those things are available to you. So,
Okay.
so I guess I need probably guidance of where this should go, and if you guys agree, which is the right place to put it in.
So what I suggest is maybe we will change the title and everything to not talk about compliance, but talk about execution mode
Okay.
or something like that. And then um, we still need to describe the compliance procedure separately. But I think this is a nice extension of the concept of profilings. And of course, if you take a model that has some execution profiling described and you try to run it on a device that doesn't support this profiling, the device would fail.
Exactly. Yep.
So it connects to compliance in a sense.
It connects to compliance.
Okay. So now I understand better the direction, and I think that during today, maybe you can send me the updated version, or yes, send me the updated version. I will upload it today to the discussion material, and then I can comment directly, and maybe Yidong and yourself, we can comment directly on this.
Sounds good.
Okay. So
Uh, I guess we've already covered all of these things. So do you want to discuss the questions that I had here?
yeah, let's go over them. But
Okay.
as I said, okay. So now question one makes sense, and I would actually there's going to be profiling is going to be used for compliance, and it's going to be used for execution directive inside.
Correct.
So we're not going to, in a sense, rename it, but the same profile is going to be used for two different meanings, I think.
Exactly. We can say that this is the concept of edge profiles, and this is the execution modes.
Mm-hmm.
And in when we are defining edge profile, it also has a execution mode, which is the collection of attributes, and we can go from there.
Yes.
Right. So my second question was just about the name, and I guess we already talked about that.
Yeah,
We can bring that question there. We can change this to data locality, and whether we want two fields, one binary and another quality of service, or just binary. Okay. So you agree we should bring up that question?
Yes.
Good. So, and the other question was, how many profiles can be added to a particular model file?
Okay. So the answer is probably going to be what's inside a profile, or what a profile defines. And I want to connect it to an idea that Mingan brought up yesterday.
Okay.
That he mentioned yesterday. Can I share for a second?
Yep, of course. Go for it, please. Uh,
So I created a small drawing to describe what Mingan's idea was. And the idea is that instead of having one profile per, let's call it a system for now, let's say we have a smart speaker profile. Rather than that, change the way profiles are targeting and talk about type of input or sensor or whatever you want to call it, and Inside it has different levels, and then a specific system or a specific configuration would have a collection of profiles. If I want to map it into what we just discussed, then your operation mode or execution mode would describe something for the 2D and something for the audio and something for the any other type of sensor that you have in your.
Makes sense.
So that actually interacts with your question, and the answer would be there is a connection because each one of them describes for a specific type or classification of models to some input type, there is a dedicated set of attributes that your system need to be adapted to.
Perfect. Makes sense. Agreed.
Okay, so we can. So I'm going to show again. This is a proposal. We have to discuss it. We have to agree with it, and I think that getting the feedback tomorrow from the wider audience would be a good place to make the decision.
Agreed.
So you can go back and share the rest of your questions.
Okay. So the next question was, how do we express subset of offsets in a particular profile? Which means, we have more than 120 ops for a profile. Are we thinking that the things like 2D and audio, these will be like published profiles on GitHub by ONNX, just like USB spec has USB profiles. Similarly, we would predefine that this profile is for these level of subsets and exact things we will harden it.
Yes. The idea is that a profile is, excuse me, a profile is published on ONNX website, and the profile has fixed set of models and a fixed set of attributes. So, and operations that it supports. So let's say models and operations together. And this is the list of operations supported by this profile. And if we want to update it, we just update the profile version. And I think we, excuse me, we already discussed it on the previous workshop that the profiles are kind of an in-process, a work-in-process thing. So you describe a profile, let's say 2D intermediate, you describe it, you freeze it in time for version 1.0, but then half a year afterwards or a year afterwards, you can advance to version 1.1 and maybe increase the set of operations.
Okay.
So mapping it to what you just described, when you add into the model the execution mode or the operation mode, you need to use the profile definition, including the version.
Perfect. So operation mode is something that we don't need to publish though, right? Producer would be able to say that, okay, this model, I say it can run in this memory, or we can run it in more memory also. Like, if you can spin out more threads and you can burn more power also and have more memory footprint, but it will run faster. Right, so operation mode be able to tackle that, and so we can keep the two things slightly separate then, right? Am I making sense?
It's possible. Well, if you set an operation mode to a system and it decides to run it more than the operation mode kind of defines the minimum, if I understand.
Exactly. Yes.
Sure.
It defines the minima. Yep. Okay. Sounds good. I think you already answered number 6.
Yes, I just have to say that we have to finish in about a minute or two.
I will wrap it up. The other thing I was asking about was accuracy, but I think that's a longer discussion. We can have it at the workshop also. Whether we talk about the full model accuracy or do we talk about numerics of individual ops.
Yeah. And
And they will,
also, accuracy is the way to measure accuracy can be a very lengthy discussion.
yep.
Even if you talk about the entire model, then do you use top one? Do you use map? What do you do
Exactly.
about regression networks?
I'm with you, and I think rest of the ONNX community needs to also figure those things out in other contexts, and we probably need to lean in on those approaches. And to begin with, we can keep it simple. I agree, but I just wanted to bring it to so that we discuss it. Right?
Sure. Okay.
I think
can raise
I'll,
this question again. I agree. It's a good question to raise tomorrow. Should the data type be somewhere described in the model? By the way, not in the scope of just the profile, even
correct.
beyond it.
Beyond it.
It's a question more to the operations SIG.
Exactly.
To me.
Makes sense. Sounds good. I'll correct some of the typos here, and I will send this document to you, and then you can probably guide me on how should we change the names and how do we want to proceed with the format, and I can work on it today.
Sure.
We can probably work over emails today.
I will just, as I mentioned, just send it to me on email. I will merge it into the discussion material.
Okay.
And then we can comment on that document.
That's actually better then that we can have a more structured discussion. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks both of you for the meeting. I'll just stop recording and see you tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.